Copyright on this material of Serious Questions belongs to Beverly Lutz, who is also the narrator for this series and author of the book, God Doesn't Care What You Wear: The Limitations of Our Beliefs. Welcome to my first audio in the series of Serious Questions. I'm delighted your curiosity brought you here. I'd like to begin first by saying that I am using the current world situation, more specifically the COVID-19 virus, to push your buttons. Anyone who has taken classes with me knows I do like to stir the internal pot, to dig out pieces that have been hiding away, yet having an impact on how you live your life. By using this situation as a trigger, my intention is to provoke and invoke some deep self-honesty in addressing long-held beliefs you may have, for example, regarding life in general, health, dying, identities, and control, to name a few. And no, these questions are not about the virus and whether or not it exists, nor are they about masks and whether or not to wear them, nor are they related to what some deem as conspiracy theories. Rather, the questions are designed to get you to ask yourself questions about your beliefs, not those given to you by others or the media, rather what you believe and intuit regarding the issues I will put forward. You may wonder why I feel there is such benefit in this type of self-exploration. What I can tell you from my experiences throughout many years of teaching and having a thriving client practice is that I realize the underbelly of all unwellness and illness seems to have some deeply rooted beliefs, making them a core necessity to explore. When one is open and willing to put aside preconceived ideas and to step into an uncomfortable arena, the result is generally profoundly freeing, as well as very often resulting in healing, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. I understand and appreciate that these questions may well challenge your perspective on the situation resulting from the virus and require sitting in discomfort as you self-explore. For many, it may mean needing to step aside from reactivity to shift from those strong preconceived ideas to a more expansive perspective. For those unwilling to even engage in a perspective different from their own, it's unlikely you will listen beyond here. I offer you, stay curious, be open to exploring, and notice there are questions within questions besides the lead question. And very importantly, if you're really interested in exploring your deeply seated beliefs that are at play with this current situation, notice every time you feel an argument, a disagreement against what I'm saying. Notice any resistance. These are all invitations to look more closely, to dig around a bit in your pool of beliefs, and to be open to a different perspective. To be clear, I am not saying I am right about anything ever. I am simply offering you the opportunity to self-investigate, to chew on what you believe and why you believe as you do. I am well aware there will be great disagreement with my points of view. And again, perhaps that offers ever more opportunity to question why you disagree so strongly. So now, let's go to serious question number 1. Have you ever thought about why you don't like being sick? Okay, so that might seem like a ridiculous question, to which most of us will reply with, why would I ever want to feel sick? So, well, it may not be your preference. You've most likely been sick at various times in your life, like with a nasty flu of high fever, vomiting, and diarrhea. Haven't you? Remember being stuck in bed for a few days just because you felt so awful, even if you didn't have a label for it? Or what about that last really miserable cold when you had a nonstop runny nose and couldn't stop sneezing, along with a hacking cough that made your head feel like it was going to split wide open? So you've been sick, right? So have I. So seriously, back to what is wrong with being sick. Experts in epidemiology will tell you that every 4 to 6 years, the flu virus, for example, will be more virulent. Well, you may have been very sick indeed, in bed perhaps even for several weeks with what you might have described as the absolute worst case of flu you've ever had. Did you feel the need to go to the hospital? I mean, we do know that antibiotics do not work with viruses. And indeed, there is no known pharmaceutical treatment for a virus. As well, most of us know just to follow the basic suggestions. Stay at home, drink lots of fluids, stay in bed, and rest, rest, rest. Now, I'm certainly not saying this strain of the coronavirus is not a virulent one. It appears it is. The symptoms, however, do vary widely in keeping with general virus symptomology. While many people are barely affected by this current virus, many others experience a normal flu-like response and are sick for a week or more, while a small percentage suffer severe and sometimes prolonged symptoms. Sadly, and very, very tragically, some have lost their lives during these past few months due to complications. So yes, you could perhaps get this virus, and you could perhaps be very sick. And I appreciate your preference is to stay well, a preference I share as well. Certainly, if you're concerned and not feeling well, then stay at home. If you have a compromised health condition, then you do need to take precautions, as with any virus. Yet, there appears to be a kind of madness around needing to prevent getting this current coronavirus. And I can't get this virus because I could die. Belief that is actually running the show. Somehow, in the underlayer of this, the fear has become deeply embedded that getting this virus could kill you. And as I see it, that is how, in large part, this madness of what I view as overreactivity started. Going back to my comment about being very sick with the flu and staying at home in bed without even thinking of going to the hospital, I can't help but wonder how much overreactivity has people rushing to hospital when they could and probably would recover more quickly at home, without the fear being further embedded just by virtue of being in a hospital. Besides the emotional cost to both the patient and the healthcare people taking care of them, what about the financial cost for hospitalization to the patient and to the system? So, a good reminder to help a return to some sanity is that the vast, vast majority of people who actually get this coronavirus with some or all of the symptoms are simply sick with nasty flu-like symptoms. And they recover. I have a close friend, for example, who, along with 3 family members plus an infant, came down with verified COVID-19, and all were bedridden for a week. Ill and very tired. Later, my friend said, I have been more sick with other flus, but the fatigue was quite overwhelming. I have another friend who says he was very sick indeed, and at one point considered going to the hospital, which in the end he did not. And he recovered quickly. Yes, some others are going to have a more severe reaction to this coronavirus. And do remember the percentage of severity is very small. Fear and the resulting anxiety and stress are far more potent than any virus in terms of damaging one's immune system. The more fear and stress take over, the more your immune system's ability to fight invading pathogens is diminished. So I ask, why exactly do you have fear over this virus? I understand, yes, it is virulent, and yes, you could be very sick. Yet why such fear? Where do you see yourself in the fear spectrum since this coronavirus began? Have you noticed a serious increase in anxiety over the past few months? Have you asked yourself any of the questions I've raised here? It is important to ask yourself some questions in terms of what you believe regarding the current situation. Is there an honest reason to be fearful? What I mean is, have you created a story around this virus in relationship to you? Think about this. If you don't have the virus, what is there to be fearful of? And are you willing to change the narrative of your story from fear to realizing that in this moment you are healthy, alive and well, and grateful to be so? How would you feel if you simply became more proactive in keeping your immune system healthy? If you do what you can to be more proactive, you will find yourself relaxing more and reacting less. By the way, I'll discuss ways to maintain and boost your immunity in several audios later. Now on to serious question number 2. Stay curious. Beverly is an inner freedom coach who works with individuals and groups around the limitations of beliefs. For more on Beverly and to purchase her book, please visit her website of newparadigmhealth.com.